When I first set foot in Nam, summer of '65, I was all of 18 years old, fresh off the boat, thinking I was 10 feet tall and bulletproof. Landed in Sikule. It wasn't much to look at back then, just a strip carved out of the sand and scrub, baking under a sun that felt like a physical weight. The air was thick, syrupy, smelled of damp earth, something vaguely sweet that I later learned was nokmam and the ever-present tang of diesel. It was a world away from any town. Let me tell you. We were Marines, supposed to be tough, but that heat, it just sucked the life right out of you until you got used to it. Or as used to it as you could get. Our little corner of the world was a beehive of activity. Seabees working day and night, bulldozers growling, choppers kicking up dust devils. We were building it up, this outpost on the edge of nowhere. But even with all our own noise, there was a different kind of hum in the air, a tension you could almost taste. Charlie was out there, somewhere in the green, watching. We all knew it. You'd hear whispers, rumors from the patrols that went out. VC were strong, dug in, near Van Tuong. Just whispers at first. We were young, most of us, full of piss and vinegar. Some scared spitless, but trying not to show it. We'd clean our M14s till they gleamed, write letters home full of bravado we didn't always feel, and try to guess what was coming. You could feel it, though, like the air before a big thunderstorm. Something was brewing. The old salts, the sergeants who'd seen Korea, they had a look in their eyes. They weren't saying much, but you could tell they knew the signs. For us greenhorns, it was just a knot in the gut, a feeling that our little adventure was about to get real. Damned real. Then the word came down. Operation Starlite. Sounds like something you'd name a damned Christmas pageant, not a full-blown Marine offensive. They rounded us up in the briefing tent, hot as a furnace in there, sweat dripping off every man. The CO, a major with a jaw you could crack walnuts on, laid it out. Intelligence said a main force VC regiment, the 1st VC regiment, was holed up in the Van Tuong village complex, just a few clicks south of us. Our job? Go in, root 'em out. First major American offensive of the war, he said. We were going to make history. I remember thinking, history? I just want to make it back for Chow. The plan was a classic hammer and anvil. One battalion would hit the beach. Amphibious assault like something out of a World War II newsreel. Another would come in by chopper, blocking their escape route to the west. We, Baker Company, were part of the heli-borne assault. My platoon, 2nd platoon, the Reapers, sounded tough anyway. The night before, nobody slept much. We checked our gear 100 times. M14s, bandoliers of ammo, couple of frags, K-bar, entrenching tool, canteen. Seemed like a mountain of stuff to carry into hell. I remember sitting there, cleaning my rifle for what felt like the 10th time that day. The smell of gun oil thick in the air. Private Jimmy MacDonald, kid from Boston, skinny as a rail, was next to me, trying to joke, but his voice kept cracking. Hey Johnny, he said. Think they got Fenway Park hot dogs over there? I just grunted. Wasn't much for talking right then. My gut was doing flip-flops. You write those letters home, you know? Trying to sound brave for your folks, for your girl. Tell 'em you're fine. It's all an adventure. You don't tell 'em about the fear that gnaws at you in the dark. Dawn, August 18th, 1965. It came up gray and sticky. The air was dead calm. We got herded towards the choppers, those old F-34s, big clumsy-looking things. The rotor wash was already kicking up a storm of red dust as we clambered aboard, shouting over the whine of the engines. Packed him like sardines, knees banging, the smell of jet fuel and nervous sweat filling the cabin. I looked around at the faces, some grim, some trying for a brave smile. All of us just boys really dressed up for a deadly game. The flight in wasn't long, but it felt like an eternity. Looking out the open door, I saw the coastline, the patchwork of rice paddies, the dark green tree lines. Looked peaceful from up there. Deceiving. Always deceiving in this country. Our LZ, codenamed White, was supposed to be a relatively clear patch near a village called An Quang Tu, part of the Van Tuong complex. The idea was to land, secure the LZ, and push east, driving Charlie towards the Marines landing on the beaches. Simple enough on paper. The choppers came in low and fast, that hump of the rotors beating in your chest. Then the world just exploded. Not under us, not yet, but you could hear it. The distant chatter of 50 cows, the heavier thud of mortar. The other LG, red and blue, were getting hit. Radio crackled with urgent voices. Our pilot, he didn't flinch, just brought that bird down smooth as you please. Go, go, go. The crew chief was screaming, shoving us out. I hit the ground, a jarring impact, and scrambled for the nearest bit of cover, which wasn't much, just a low paddy dike. The air was instantly thick with the smell of cordite and churned earth. Other choppers were coming in, disgorging more Marines, a controlled chaos. For a few seconds, there was no enemy fire right on us, just the roar of our own birds lifting off and the sound of our boots sucking in the mud. We fanned out, Sergeant Davies barking orders, getting us into a skirmish line. Miller, Thompson, on point, move it. My heart was hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. This was it. No more training, no more bullshit. This was for keeps. We started moving inland, towards the dark tree line that marked the edge of An Quang Tu. The sun was climbing, and the heat was already brutal. Sweat stung my eyes. Every shadow looked like a threat. Every rustle in the elephant grass made you jump. It was quiet. Too quiet. That's the thing about ambushes, the quiet before they spring it. We were maybe 100 yards from the village when the first shots cracked overhead. AK-47s. Distinctive sound, sharper than our M14s. Nasty. Everyone hit the dirt. Contact front. Davies yelled. See, Em? I couldn't see a damn thing. Just muzzle flashes from the dark tree line, like angry fireflies. Dirt kicked up around me. I pressed myself flatter against the paddy dike, tasting mud and fear. This wasn't like the movies. There was no John Wayne standing tall. There was just us, scared kids, trying not to get our heads blown off. Baker 2, this is Reaper 6. Taking fire from grid coordinates... ... Davies was on the radio. Calm as you please, calling in our position. How the hell did he stay so calm? Then Mac, poor Jimmy McDonald, who was a few feet to my right, he yelped. A sharp, cut-off sound. I looked over. He was clawing at his leg, a dark stain spreading on his fatigues. Mac, you hit? My leg. Oh God, Johnny, my leg. His face was white as a sheet. Doc Henderson, our corpsman, was already scrambling towards him, low crawling through the mud. A true hero, those guys. The firing was picking up, a steady, vicious stream. We were pinned down good. This was just the welcome party. The main event hadn't even started, and already one of our own was down. That VNT Chiang, it was already drawing blood, and the day had barely begun. Getting Mac out of there while we were taking that much fire was a whole other kind of hell. Doc Henderson did his best, slapping a battle dressing on Mac's leg, but we needed to move to break contact or get some cover. Sergeant Davies, he was a rock, that man. Suppressing fire, goddammit. Miller, Thompson, lay it on that tree line. Rest of you, when I say move, you move. We poured fire into those trees. Couldn't see who we were shooting at, just where the shots were coming from. The noise was deafening, our M14s, the deeper cough of the M60 machine gun Thompson had set up, and the relentless crack-crack of those AKs. Then Davies yelled, "Move." We scrambled, half crawling, half running from one pitiful bit of cover to the next, dragging Mac with us. Felt like we were moving through molasses, bullets snapping past our ears. One of them plucked at my sleeve. Too damned close. You don't think in moments like that. Not really. You just react. Your training kicks in, or it doesn't. If it doesn't, you're probably dead. We finally made it to a slightly deeper ditch, offering a bit more protection. From there, we could see the village of Nkwang Tu proper, a collection of thatched huts, surrounded by dense hedges and bamboo groves. And from every damn hut, every clump of trees, it seemed like Charlie was firing. They were dug in deep, just like intelligence said. This wasn't just some hit-and-run ambush. This was a stand-up fight. Our platoon, what was left of it that was effective, started a slow, painful advance, leapfrogging from cover to cover. One squad lays down fire, the other moves. Basic stuff, but doing it under that kind of pressure, it's different. I saw guys hesitate. I hesitated. Who wouldn't? You're asking yourself if that next step is your last. We got into the outskirts of the village, and it turned into a goddamn maze. Alleyways, hedgerows, fighting hut to hut. You'd kick in a door, not knowing if it was empty or if some VC was waiting on the other side with his AK leveled. It was nerve-shredding. Every corner was a potential death trap. I remember one hut in particular. Me and a guy named Sanchez, big fella from LA, were tasked with clearing it. I went in low, Sanchez covering. The inside was dark, smoky. For a second, nothing. Then, movement in the corner. A flash. Sanchez screamed, a choked gurgle, and went down. I emptied half a magazine into that corner without even thinking, just pure reflex. When the ringing in my ears stopped, I saw him. A VC, no older than me, probably sprawled out, his AK clattering on the dirt floor. And Sanchez. Sanchez wasn't moving. The rage just boiled up, cold, different from fear. I checked Sanchez. Nothing I could do. Throat shot. I grabbed his dog tags, backed out of that hut, and just kept moving. You couldn't stop. You couldn't grieve. Not then. You did that. You join him. But Sanchez, I see his face sometimes, even now. The fighting went on like that for hours. Brutal, close-quarter stuff. We used grenades, M79s, anything we had. The smoke was so thick sometimes you could barely see 10 feet in front of you. The noise was a constant, mind-numbing roar. Little by little, we pushed them back, or so we thought. They'd just melt away and pop up somewhere else. Tenacious bastards, you had to give them that. Late afternoon, the heat was still oppressive, and we were exhausted, low on ammo, low on water. We'd taken more casualties. Word came down the line that the amphibious force had linked up with elements of the 3rd Battalion, 3rd Marines to our east. The pincer was closing, but Charlie was still fighting like a cornered tiger. As dusk started to settle, what was left of our platoon was ordered to dig in, form a defensive perimeter for the night. We were in a blasted-out section of the village, a few wrecked huts, some shell craters. Didn't look like much, but it was home for the night. Digging in that hard-packed earth with those little entrenching tools. Every muscle screaming, you cursed the Marine Corps, you cursed Vietnam, you cursed God. But you dug. Because night was coming, and nobody wanted to be caught in the open when Charlie owned the dark. That first night in Van Thuong, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. We set up a hasty perimeter. What was left of 2nd Platoon, maybe 20, 25 effectives by then. Sergeant Davies put us 2 to a hole, watch rotations, 50% alert all night. Nobody sleeps sound, he growled, his face caked with dirt and exhaustion. Charlie likes the dark. He wasn't wrong. The dark out there wasn't just the absence of light. It was alive. Every rustle of bamboo, every croak of a frog, every shadow that flickered in the faint moonlight sounded like a sapper team, slithering through the wire. Not that we had much wire. Your eyes played tricks on you. You'd see movement, hold your breath, finger tightening on the trigger, then realize it was just a banana leaf swaying in the breeze. Or was it? The doubt gnawed at you. I was sharing a hole with Thompson, the M60 gunner. Big guy, usually quiet, but that night he talked a bit. About his girl back in Ohio, about the farm he was gonna buy. You do that, sometimes. Talk about home. Helps push the other stuff down, for a little while. Around 0200, all hell broke loose a few hundred yards to our south. Tracers ripped through the night, green ones from their AKs, red ones from our M40s and 60s. The sudden, terrifying roar of an outgoing RPG, followed by an explosion that shook the ground. Alpha Company was getting hit. For about 30 minutes, it was a goddamn fireworks show, but nobody was celebrating. We were all on full alert, peering into the darkness, expecting our turn. But it never came. Not that night. Not for us. Just the sounds of other men fighting and dying in the dark. That was almost worse. The not knowing, the waiting. Dawn came slow, painting the sky in sickly shades of gray and orange. We were stiff, exhausted, nerves frayed thin. But we were alive. Small mercies. The order came down. Saddle up. We weren't done. Charlie was still out there. The big push was on to clear the rest of the Van Tuong Peninsula. The second day was a blur of more of the same, but somehow different. We were harder, maybe. Numb, certainly. The shock had worn off, replaced by a grim, grinding determination. We moved through more villages, more tree lines, more rice paddies. The resistance was still there, but it felt more sporadic, like they were trying to break out, to escape the net that was tightening around them. There were still firefights, sudden and vicious. I remember our squad getting pinned down by a sniper in a ruined pagoda. Took us an hour and 2 good men wounded before we could get an LAAW, light anti-tank assault weapon, team up to put a rocket into the damn thing. You learn to hate certain sounds, the crack of a sniper round passing your head, the whoosh of an incoming mortar, and the sights. You try to forget them, but they burn themselves into your brain. The bodies, theirs and ours. The destruction. We weren't just fighting an enemy. We were fighting the land itself, the heat, the insects, the fear. By the end of the second day, it was clear the back of the 1st VC Regiment had been broken, or at least badly bent. We started finding more abandoned positions, discarded equipment. The intensity of the fighting lessened. We linked up with other Marine units, sweaty, filthy, and utterly drained, but with a grim sense of not victory, not yet. More like survival. The next few days were about mopping up. Sweeping through the area, hunting for stragglers, a grim and joyless task. The main battle was over, but the dying wasn't. We found VC hiding in spider holes, in tunnels. Some surrendered. Some fought to the last bullet. The scale of it only started to sink in when we saw the tower. Hundreds of enemy Kia. Our own casualties were heavy too. Every Marine knew someone or knew of someone who hadn't made it. We'd paid a price for Van Tuong. When we finally pulled back to Chachu-Lay, riding in trucks this time, not choppers, nobody was cheering. We were too tired, too numb. We just sat there, staring out at the passing landscape, each man lost in his own thoughts. Back at the base, the simple things felt like luxuries. A hot meal, a shower, a cot that wasn't a patch of muddy ground. But even then, you couldn't wash off the stink of battle. The images seared into your memory. Van Tuong, Operation Starlite. They called it the first American victory was on paper. We met a main force facing it head on. All the fight the war and wars. But sitting here now, all these years later, victory feels like a word. What I remember is the grand strike, where the body I remember Max Sanchez falling in that hut, the fear of the dark. I remember the heat, the thirst, the bone-deep exhaustion. That's what Vientiane was for me. It was the place where I stopped being a kid from any town, USA, and became something else. A Marine, sure, but also a survivor of something that no 18-year-old should ever have to see, let alone do. It changed us all, that battle. Some for the worse, some... well, nobody came out of it the same. It was just the beginning, of course. There were many more Van Tuongs to come, for me and for thousands of others, in different places, with different names. But that one, that first big one, it set the tone. It showed us what we were in for. You carry these things with you. They become part of who you are. Aches like old wounds when the weather changes. You learn to live with them. You have to, but you never forget. Not really. Van Tuong. Yeah, I remember Van Tuong.